Welcome to Soltron. This is a video review for my custom Cyber Battalion Optimus Prime, and these toys are generally pretty terrible, but very simple. And I do like the style of them, but here's a 360 view of this guy, and you can see what I've done with him. He's got ball joint knees, he's got bicep cuts. I also, of course, added LED in his chest, LED for his eyes, and then gave him the sword and gun since I had some extra Prime weapons. Why not? Oh, and then I made his bumper piece move up here and his wheels can fold down on his back just to clean up his back section. So I put a lot of work on this guy. Alright, and here's a size comparison. He's pretty big, which I think makes sense for an Optimus Prime that's basically made out of his trailer and his cab. He should be pretty enormous, so he's probably about Commander class. Alright, and here's a look at his box, so you can get a good idea of what I did for the customizing. So I did make his biceps a lot shorter because they were long and his hands were basically down to his knees. So I shortened his biceps, gave him the bicep swivel, and you can see in the original figure he did not have bicep rotation. He didn't even have knees. His legs were just all one solid piece. So you can see he actually looks mostly the same as the box art. It's not a huge difference. And then you could see this Optimus Prime, which looks nothing like him on the side. And then another shot of the product where you get you could tell he's just got Frankenstein transformation or articulation, and then his transformations on the back, because the whole reason for these, if you don't know, these were like a simplified Transformers figures, and you wouldn't even really find them at the normal stores. You'd find them like at Walgreens. I always liked them because they were simple and they always had like an interesting style. So I like the kind of new, sort of like G1, but also its own unique kind of style. Like if you look at this head sculpt, it is just something very unique about it. Like it's kind of a cross between the movie, but it's got its own, I guess, Combiner Wars kind of thing going on. So it was like a budget option. You've probably seen this figure if you've been on Amazon. They're constantly trying to sell this to you every time you look up Transformers for like 20 bucks. So I finally decided to just go ahead and buy him and see what he's all about. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get rid of his weapons because he doesn't come with this stuff at all. These are just the weapons I've saved from other Optimus Primes that I've owned in the past. Oh, now that gun post is just going to be in his hand. Okay, never mind. So, yeah, he doesn't actually come with any accessories. He's just by himself, but I think you'll agree that the new articulation does make him look more interesting, as well as his fixed up biceps are like better proportioned. So I think he actually is a pretty good looking Prime, and I really do like the work I did on his back. I'll go into that when I get into transformation. But for the articulation, he does have a ball joint neck, and he does have like this. He's got full outward motion on soft ratchets, and then he does now have this bicep cut on a ball joint I gave him. And then he had this nice elbow joint built in, which is more than 90 degrees on a friction joint. He doesn't really have ratchets, and he doesn't have wrist articulation except for this pivot, which doesn't count. He does have chest articulation you can kind of cheat. So you kind of get, instead of like a waist swivel, you get this going, which works. Like it doesn't really break the sculpt. So this is actually a working piece of articulation. And he does have these universal hips, which are on clicky ratchets, but it doesn't feel good. These are definitely very soft ratchets, and then just friction, very cheap cost-cutting ratchets as far as this goes. And instead of having universal joints, he usually just has things that are just pinned in. He's got pin joints just to make this figure as cheap as possible. And then I did give him the ball joints in his knees, so he does have more than 90 in the knees to give him some like interesting poseability. And then because these are on ball joints, that also gives him a shin swivel or knee swivel. And then for the weirdest reason, they when they had this figure, they did give him pivoting toes, and I think this guy came out like in the Combiner Wars time. So that was back in a time where most robots didn't even have ankle tilt. So I don't know why this guy, they decided to give him ankle tilts, but he's got them and they're very good. So really bizarre choices made on this guy. But yeah, that's... Oh, and he's got one other nice little piece of articulation, which is very interesting. He's also got a ab crunch for the transformation, though. That's definitely not on purpose. But with all that, you can get some really cool poses out of him. You can do like a pose like this, and wow, that actually looks really cool. He's so simple, but he can get this really dynamic looking pose just from a couple of ball joints. So yeah, I think I did good work on this guy. He looks really cool, and of course the LED eyes and chest really just bring him to life. It's so much fun. Yeah, so cool work. I think I did a good job on this $20 figure. But yeah, so let's get into... Okay, so let's get started on his transformation. So yeah, this is like one of those kid Optimus Primes. You've seen like they've probably made like 20 of these kinds of robots at this point, where he is just an Optimus Prime that is his cabin, his trailer. It's not separate pieces. It's all one thing. But yeah, you're going to straighten out all his joints. And then obviously his legs, like always, are just going to straighten out. And then there's this big tab right here, and they're just going to sandwich together. Very simple. And then his whole front section is going to do this. And then if you've ever had this kind of Optimus Prime before, you already know his chest is just going to swivel around. So we can look at some of the articulation I did in the back. So actually, let me go back a step. This is actually how he looks in his base form. So when you buy him out of the box, he's going to mostly look like this, except for his biceps are going to be much, much longer. But this is basically how he looks, which is not bad at all. And then when you get to the back, that's where the real problem is, because he's just got this bumper back here and these wheels. So, and you can see this is where his power switch is. It's kind of just all in there, and I just wired up these two LEDs in series. I've never really done that before, so it was a nice little test run of just improving my LED skills. But yeah, this is what he basically looks like out of the box. So a cool style, but definitely no fun with his... Yeah, this is obviously a problem. This does not look good. So I put these on, I put the whole hood section on a couple of Lego ball joints. You can see them in there. And that's just going to allow this whole section to just migrate up. And then his light switch is kind of getting in the way. So this whole section just slides up very nicely, and it cleans up his back, and it kind of gives him like a booster looking backpack, which is very cool. And then these sections are also just on ball joints, so they're just going to move out of the way here, and that cleans up his torso section and makes him a little more angular and narrow looking, which I like, instead of having those... I don't think anybody likes having the tires like right on his literally love handle area. But yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I did there. So to transform him, we're just going to straighten all this out, and then his light switch is going to need to stay up here. It's kind of stuck inside the hood now, so I'm going to leave this section here just hanging out, and then just orient these ball joints, just kind of straighten everything out, and then just make these tires nice. So you can see that's the whole section there. We're going to straighten out his arms, and then just fold in these fists. And then we're going to take his whole head section, and then it's going to... This is just going to rotate all the way around. I'm going to be very gentle with this because this is where all his wiring is. And then we're just going to rotate his whole chest section with the battery pack. this way, and then we can just go ahead and close up his arms. And then they're going to peg together right here. And then you already saw the legs, we just straighten those out, clip them together, and then we're just going to shove this whole section up and just try to figure out where this battery section will end up. Yeah, it's got plenty of space because his alt mode is very gappy. The real problem is right here, is that there's just no panels on this figure, which I like, but then you really pay for it in his alt mode. So he looks great like this. Front view, perfect. Top view, great. Side view, terrible, just because this huge gap right here. Legs looking good. Arms look mostly good. Because I shortened his biceps, they don't really go all the way out here, so you do have this gap, which is pretty ugly. But yeah, that's basically what this figure is. I think I greatly improved him. You could tell me what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.